Hello, my peeps. Welcome to week 2 of the Advent Calendar's Extras. This is the replacement video for the Zoom call that didn't happen because of the gong show that has become my street this week. The street cleaning went till about 7, and then all of a sudden stopped. And I thought, oh, they must be taking a break for lunch. They'll be back after, or for supper. I imagine they'll be back afterwards. And then they never came back. So the next morning, Wednesday morning, I got up and I thought, okay, I've got like 3 things that I have to film today. So hopefully the trucks will be back early, and then I can crack these off. And I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited, and I thought, oh my God, are you kidding me? Come back and get because right in front of my house there was still snow. They had started at the opposite end. And I thought, well, I can't wait any longer. I'm going to be late getting all this stuff done. Like I got things to do. I had the theater to go to. It was fantastic. So was the risotto that I had for supper before it. So you know when you put a mouthful of food in a restaurant, that's when the waiter comes over. So I thought, I can't wait any longer. Start to do the video, boom, trucks start going by. I'm like, oh, if I should have started the video 2 hours ago. So by the time I got all of those ones done and filmed and uploaded and everything, it was way too late to do it yesterday. So same thing again today. I've got 2 videos that I have to do today because I'm doing my 25 days to an organized craft room. And I started 5 times to get the first video done because it had the deadline. And every time we have the town guy came by, I don't know, I think 3 times. Got out of the truck a couple times, checking. He's trying to find the water. I finally went out at one point, asked him what he was doing so I could see if I could help. He's trying to find our new neighbors are getting all their stuff done, I guess, because trying to do a water hookup. A different guy came by. Somebody in a van came there. Just as I was about to do this the first time, a little while ago, a whirlpool truck pulled up to go to the neighbor's house. My street has turned into a gong show. And every time the dog is just on end, or on edge right now, right? Like there's just too much going on for his liking. So I'm gonna give this a shot and really hope for the best that we actually get through the darn thing without him having cause to come in and bark his ever-loving head off. Okay, so we are doing projects 4, 5, and 6 tonight. And I'm gonna do bits and pieces of each one because I imagine some of it is more obvious than others, but I'll show you what I did as we went along. The PDFs alone should help. So if they don't, if you were just to look at the PDF and you think something's wrong, please tell me so I can always fix that. So I'm gonna pull it out and I can't get it back in. Okay, so this is the card for project number 4. This was a Stampin' Up design. In their design, the 2 butterflies are on this side. But when I went to heat emboss this label, I was holding it on this end, and my tweezers gouged the gold, whatever this is, embossing around the border of this. So I just flipped mine over so my butterflies could cover up where I messed up. So the stages of this one, as written out. There's only so much you can write on a PDF, so I'm trying to remember now what I wrote. But so you got your envelope and you got your card base, and the white piece is to go on the inside because it's a little too dark, right? So that's what that's for. I'm just gonna move some of these things out of the way as I go because I'm very shortly going to run out of room. I can just tell. So I purposely put this picture in the PDF because every time I do this, doesn't matter how many times I do it, I think I have the right, like, okay, I want to go from here to here, and I screw it up. But the important part to remember is the stuff in the middle gets covered up, so it doesn't matter. So start at one corner or the other, start in the middle and move out, doesn't matter which way you do it. And just try to get it, like, hold your piece up to begin with so you kind of get an idea where it's going to go. And you want just stuff to kind of peek out around it, right? So I did this the first time, putting this here thinking I would see it. And when I put this down, there was nothing here. So when I had it all around everywhere else, but not there, this was really obviously blank. Like, this is just a tiny bit, but there's enough here. So just go back in and stamp it again, because it doesn't matter. Now for you guys, the instructions will say, oh, I need a piece of DSP. The instructions will say to cut a minute. A banner out of your DSP. I wasn't sure how many people had the big party banner dies. They're awesome, but I didn't know that everybody had them. They're not a low price point item. They are a large price point item. I managed to get mine and the letters as a bundle, and I either used Stampin' rewards or I don't know, something else was going on because I was quite happy at the time that I got a fair bit off on them. But yeah, super handy. Love them. Ooh, that's gonna make a good label. I'm actually gonna keep that. Or not label, but like sentiment, because it's nice and light. I can stamp on that. But yeah, I've used them for lots of things. They're super handy. But I wasn't sure if everybody had one. So in your package, I cut out the size that you wanted. This is, I can tell by looking at Stampin' Up's card what size I used, because I have the same things. So you have a couple options, because the label is about 3x4. So I just cut a piece of 3x4 paper. So you could use the one I cut and gave you as a template if you want. Just try to center it, or you could cut down your paper by like 1/8 of an inch, because I think it's actually about 1/8 of an inch or less. And then just follow this, and you'll get your nice little like rounded flag on the bottom. Right, that's one way to do it. The other way to do it, and I still think of this as the Tammy Dunbar method, because I learned this ages ago, and then we saw it at the Red Deer. There's a one-day regional event for demos, and somebody on stage was demoing this, and a whole bunch of people were like, "Oh, that's so good!" And one of them was Tammy, and I thought, how do you not know that tip? Like, she was one of the originals, right? So this is why I always share tips. Part of that is because don't ever assume that somebody has seen the tip before, but also just because I thought, well, if she doesn't know, probably a lot of people don't know. So this is the easy part. Normally I just eyeball it, but I will show because some people actually want to be a little more particular. So this is 3 inches apart. So if you have a glass mat or your grid paper or anything, or even just a ruler, but I can look at this and I can see that this is my halfway mark right here, because I'm looking at. I'm just getting my scissors underneath. I'm looking at 1.5 inches on here, right? This is my 3-inch piece, so 1.5. So I'm just going to find the center. And you can decide the higher up you go, the more pointy your flags are, but also the smaller you have to work with. And the shallower you go, the less like dramatic your little flags are. So I'm going to go up, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch and just cut. Then I'm going to go from this corner, and I'm going to cut from the corner to where that point was that I just went in. And I'm going to cut from the corner to the point where, and I'm eyeballing it to line it up, and then I have my flag, right? So you can do it that way. I wonder what this would look like with. Mine is just slightly off on here. So this is the problem with doing flags, right? Is you think it's slightly off, so then you trim it, but then you trim it a bit too much, so then you got to trim the other side, and then you got to trim the other side, and next thing you know, you have like a 1/4 inch strip of paper left. But I'm going to try really hard to just take like the smallest fraction off of there. Ho ho ho! Go me. Okay, so yeah, this is your thing, and I'm curious. I think I'd have to make things in different colors to make that work. I think I'm going to try it with that. The other thing you could do is you could corner around these. I might actually just try that. I'm going to put it off the side. Okay, the other thing you can do though is, so this is, it's going to be a little hard to see because it's kind of covered up, but so this is the DSP and this is the one I made. So they're not exactly the same, but I just took the stamps and I stamped, and this is a little bit, it didn't stamp very well, but I thought it's not going to matter because I'm covering it up. But, and the same is like this gap in the middle. I knew I was covering up, so it didn't really matter. But I just took the stamps. I stamped a bunch of the big flowers. I stamped some of the leaves. I stamped all of the other stuff. And then I just took my blending brush and did over top of it. So it cut, because this kind of has a, this sort of is a lighter, I can get quite that light, but this sort of has a lighter background. But I didn't want it to be like stark white with stamping on it. And the funny thing is I find as soon as you blend, because I blended over the whole thing, it looks more like DSP. Right? So if you want, take the white one, stamp on it first, take your blending brush, blend over top of it, and just make your own DSP. So there's that option as well. That's why you guys all got one of these. use it as a template, or just stamp on it, or just cut something out of paper. I will show you some samples, and you can see that the other alternative is just to use a square or a rectangle. So, okay, so let us move this. I was doing this card because we were using the gold trimmed like tags and stuff you got. Some of them I think there's 2 of, but most of them I think there's only 1 of. So I'm using a different, like this one was straight edge scalloped, and this time I'm scalloped and straight edge because it's not really going to matter. You just need something, but I was doing that. So yeah, the bottom label, card is in my way. We're just going to use, I love the blending brushes. I have sponges, I have daubers, all the different things, but man, I like the blending brushes. Another bonus to the glass mat is you can just tap on there and just use it instead of paper. And this doesn't have to be that much. You can pick up some of the stuff you just knocked off. In this case, and I didn't do it, but especially if you're just practicing, to me, blending brush is all about practice. So yeah, you get your practice in. But in something like this, if you're still a little unsure, or you're still a little blotchy, because even people who've done this for ages, it's very easy to forget to tap and go thunk and put a big thunk right in the middle of your page. But because I know the label's going in the middle, I could always do all of my sponging by starting in the middle and working my way out. Because then if I get a big gob or darker spot or whatever, it's always going to be in the covered spot. But in this case, it's very light, and I'm confident in my brushing. So that's all I had to do. Now the thing you want to remember when you are doing it on these labels is this gold embossing doesn't hold the ink, right? The ink doesn't penetrate it. So it might not look too bad, but there's a good chance you'll get it on your fingers, on your card, it'll rub off on something. So there's not a ton, there's not a ton that came off, but you always want to, and this is just Kleenex, right? And just kind of rub over top to get that off the gold so you don't end up wearing it later. I have just a little dish with some water in it, and I'm doing it. Sometimes I just wait if I'm doing a bunch of stuff and do all my blending brushes at once. This is how I multitask and cut down on things by using one thing for the other. But if, like in this case, I knew I was just going to do a little bit. I think I'm doing just a little bit. So I just took my little brush, dipped it in the thing to clean it off, and then I'm damping it on my paper towel or on my Kleenex so it can dry it off a bit. And then I now have a piece of wet Kleenex that I can use to clean my mat. So this is how we do it all at once. My mat is quite dirty. Anyways, it's very busy in here and with my organizing and all. Okay. So, see, I should have done a different color. Well, let's see how it looks with pink because I got blue butterflies. I don't know if this one might be a little shorter. But I'm thinking I'm not going with that one because it's not the contrast I was going for. But let's see what it looks like with this one. Your other option, I don't know that I did a bunch of different. No, I don't. One of the options I was going to do was I was just going to take this as white and emboss it, and then put the stuff over. So maybe I might do that on one of them too. You're covering so much of this up because right now this is very pink to me. But oops, I'm sorry, I'm off screen. But that's okay because it will be toned down by the time I get everything on it. The other thing that the instructions said the gold heat embossing, and not everybody heat embosses. Not everybody has the stuff, and not everybody just wants to. So I thought it would be fun, maybe not so much fun, but helpful to show you what one of these looked like. Sorry, I had this set up so that, as we were stamping together, if you were stamping, I was stamping so that it would smooth along. So some of the basic steps, I guess I could have gone back and done. But yeah, this will just give you an idea that you can also, I'm just doing this, oh, you know what? This has very long, oh, I like that. This has very long, I don't know, I can't think, I think there's a word for it. The leading in and out, legs, I don't know what they are. But it is, you can also use the lines to make sure your diamond is going straight up and down. But anyways, it's making it like touch the gold, which I don't want to, but guess what? It's fun to put it at an angle. So you could just do it with ink instead of embossing. I think that's fine. And then let's show you this one. And then I'm going to put the 2 butterflies on it. So I'm going to pop some of this stuff up. So, and in this case, I'm going to, because of the way I just did that angle, I'm probably going to put these down at the bottom like this. Right, so put them wherever you need to. That works. I think I may have said this already, but I'm not 100% sure. First off, I love these butterflies. I think I did say that before, but to get the 2 blue butterflies, I simply used the Misty Moonlight. But this is 2-step stamping. So there is the butterfly itself, and then there's the thorax, I think is the right name for it, the body of the butterfly. And I think it's personal preference, and some people will say one way is the right way, and some people will say the other. For me, I find it easier to stamp the little butterfly center. And you would think it'd be easier to stamp the big piece first and then insert the little one. But having tried it both ways, I can do it. But I have a better chance of getting the body centered if I do the inside first and then do the big thing over top of it. I have no idea why. Sometimes I think maybe it's the darker color, because you can see the darker color better than the light. I'm not really sure what it is. But this is how I got the 2 colors. So, and you probably should be putting a, actually now that I said it, it'll screw up, so I will. Because this is a solid stamp, I should be putting a mat underneath it for the photopolymer. So I'm going to make sure this is inked up, because I don't get a second chance with this one. So making sure this is inked up. I'm going to have to get my head in the way or something. And then I stamped down with the solid blue. And then I went immediately over. And I stamped down again. So this is 2nd generational 2-step, I don't know all the different names they call it, stamping off. And that's how I got my 2 blue butterflies. And that works with pretty much every color. I think the really light colors, you're not going to get this much distinction. Like, they might be closer. And some colors, you could barely see the second thing. There's 3rd. Some of them, if the color is dark enough to start with, it's getting sticky now. You can, this is how you get the running effect, right? It's dark and it gets lighter as it goes, like the movement. So this is, I could do 4 with this. The 4th one, it's getting a little bit hard to see, but, and if you're going to, like, I left the body dark. If you were going to try to do the movement thing, then you should really stamp off with both colors. Like, don't put a really dark center in this, it'll look kind of funny. But in this case, I was just going for 2 blue butterflies. All right, butterflies. So that is, whatever card I just said, 4. Now, the basic element of this card is some background stamping, a big centerpiece, some crossed labels, and some die cuts, right? So I made this one. Excuse me. This is just a 3x4 square. So same thing. I stamped the back. Instead of making a banner, I just made a square. Instead of brushing, blending brush on top of a label, I just cut out a label. Where's my dies? I think see, now that it's been so long in between now, I can't remember. I think I showed you this last week, but this die right here is this one. And all I did is I cut one of them, and then I cut it in half, because there's like, the split is behind this, so you won't see it. So I could make it long enough on either side. So I just cut it, ran it through the embossing machine, got like an embossed print on it, and then cut it in half. And this one is just a square label from something. I'm not even sure which one this is from. So this is the same thing. I did the stamping off in the flamingo and got 2 flowers. And instead of putting them on the side, I put them on the bottom. So there's one other variation on it. Another variation on it is, instead of background stamping, I did embossing. This is from the Peace on Earth, Peaceful Garden. Pretty sure it's called Peaceful Garden. That came out at Christmas. The blue one with the doves. Love this embossing folder. I didn't put a banner on it. You can sort of see the imprint of the center thing is supposed to be like fills in, but you can sort of see it. But if this had been solid, I would have been just as happy with it. I did put this, I kind of moved the labels again, and then I used cupcakes this time, right? So I dropped off one element, but I kind of did the same idea. And then the last one I did was, I just did a piece of DS. This is a retired embossing folder, which I always forget what it's called. Subtle or I love this embossing folder, this crosshatchy thing. It just happened to be like a pre-made one when I said I need a white embossed layer. This is just a chunk of DSP. I put, instead of putting a banner with a label on top, I just put a banner label. Instead of the, like the original, like there was one with the square, I put this as one of our sponged flowers, or not sponged, masked. I just put it as sort of my big element behind, and then I put these 3 adorable little butterflies on there. And you'll notice, I think it's Project 11 is the one where we actually got the glitter goop, but I've been using it all along. But I just drug a little line of it down the center so that these are blinged out butterflies. They have glowing goldy bodies, and added on a little bit of the twine. So there's another version. So I think you can do whatever you want. Use the elements you want. Leave off some of them. Change them up. I realized afterwards I should have done one where the banner was going like this. Whatever suits you. You can do. There's lots of options on it. Okay. Card number 5. Okay, so for card number 5, it's masking, and I don't know if we want to do like the masking now. I can't. I cannot. There we go. I can't get the stuff out. You got a bunch of stuff in your little thing, so I'll just kind of quickly tell you some of that. I'm not going to do the full masking because I think it's a practice thing, but I will quickly just, I did this and I had posted it earlier, so you have the mask guide. I like to do this myself. I don't normally make them quite this fancy. I will make one of each, oops, the bottom part here, one of each on the, like what just that layer of the mask alone looks like. Because sometimes if you're just looking for an effect or something, sometimes you might just want like one piece of it. Like you don't want this flower to be as full, like maybe you just want this little bit, or maybe you just want the speckly thing on something totally different, right? So I do like to make on a piece of cardstock, and I usually shove the cardstock just into the case. And then I'll usually do one complete one just so I can see what it looks like in just whatever color I choose, right? But I made this little guide so you could just sort of see this is how I do it. There's probably other ways to do it. I don't know if everybody has used masks before. We have envelope, we have card base, and we have an inside for the card. So the Stampin' Up! Version that they did was on the 4x4, 4¼ by 4¼ they made a square card of it, and it was just big enough that it fit really nicely with this, like the size of the mask. I gave you the full size, because some people prefer that. I gave you the full size card base. So this is a full size one. And I'm pretty sure I gave you, I don't know if I gave you both measurements now. This one, the DSP strip is just a little bigger. Sorry, I realize now I don't have any idea what DSP I told you to cut on the PDF. This one is just a little smaller because if you could put the same size, you could put a big strip of DSP, but they almost touch, and most of it's covered, so it seems like a bit of a waste. Grab your card base and cut the inside layer. Complete the mask layer, gold foil. So I totally forgot on here. I put add DSP strips to the top and the bottom of the card, but I did not write what size they were. So, not that it matters, you can do whatever size you want. This one is about 3/4 of an inch. I got 2 3/4 inch strips here, and I just put them square against the bottom. That's what you can see in the picture. On this one, yep, these ones are about 1.5 inches. And I think this is more what Stampin' Up! Did, because in the video, like you only get to see it fleetingly, and then I try to look, but theirs was not flat. So I took these 2 strips, crumpled them up. You can spritz them with a little water if you want to help them crumple better, and then kind of flatten them out, and then just put enough adhesive underneath them to hold, like to make sure I hit enough of the bumps. And then, so this one, because this card is bigger, these pieces are bigger so they can stick out a little more, and so whichever one works for you. The masking part is the same, it's more just how do you want to do the background. So, okay, we have that one. So I gave you 2 pieces of the masking, like the size that you need to do the mask, like the finished size. Sometimes, depending, if it's a big mask that has like a big pattern across the whole thing, I would sometimes suggest use a bigger piece so you can use the whole mask and then cut it down to size. In this case, this mask is small, so I didn't feel like you needed to. So this is the finished size that you need, is the one. I don't know, sorry, just a second. I don't know what's going on here, but my camera seems really, I have to really lean to make that. I gotta fix that. Okay, that's better. Okay, so this is how I showed you on the mask, and I'm just going to show you because this system works really well for me. Stampin' Up! Has put notches in the, that's a really big piece, I didn't need that to be quite that big, in the mask, which is genius and is like super helpful. So all you have to do is figure out what system to keep track of your masks. I'm gonna make this one a bit smaller. It is a bit excessive. And I just have like a tiny bit of the corner. I need 2 more of these anyway, so we'll use this in a second. To go down. So your masks are numbered. There's a little number up in the corner, 1 through 4. So starting with mask number 1, I'm just going to put it over, and I can see, like if I look at mask number 4, that's the outside edge of what's going to be there. If you line them up, you can see pretty much here's the stems, and there's the top. So looking at this, I can see that as long as my 2 flowers are in, like and centered, nothing is going to be outside of what I need, right? So it's easier to see with just one. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to try to center, like get an equal border around all my flowers. This big blank space, like I said, the stems will go there, but I know that the stems end within the confines of these 2 flowers anyways. Okay, and so I'm going to glue the mask down on the opposite corners. As I was trying to write the PDF out for this, I thought, yeah, maybe we'll just give them a quick show, because I don't know if that made, how much sense it made in like a couple short pictures. So I make sure I put the tape where I can use it with this little notch. So I like to, like, I'm sure just the notch alone works, but I like to get the whole corner. So I go and trace it with my pen, right? So it shows me where the notch is, and it shows me around. Now, I'm going to do this layer. There we go. I was going to say, where's my brush? You can use this brush. I'm used to the old stenciling technique where you used to go like this, but this brush is softer. So I'm not exactly sure. If anybody has any, like is 100% familiar with this brush method, let me know. Because all I did was, same thing, I kind of stamped off onto the mask or onto here, and then just kind of swirled it around. You want to try to make sure you're not pushing too hard on the little bits because you don't want to bend them up. But I found as long as I just kind of dabbed a little bit and swirled around a little bit, I filled in all the spaces. If you have blending brushes and you would prefer, then use your blending brush and do it. Same thing, tap off a little bit of the ink and just kind of slow moves. Put a little bit on it first, build up, because you can always add more, you can't take it off. So that was the easiest way to do it, right? So yeah, I don't need to do the whole thing. I don't make the video way too long. If you guys need like a full video on masking, I'll do it like just masking alone. But I'm going to assume most of you have done it before. So this is what I do. So I did this layer. I got it all finished. So then all I have to do is take this off with these 2 pieces. Until I'm done, this never moves. It stays there. It's stuck. It's down. So I put this off to the side. The other thing you want to make sure is if you're not wiping these off immediately, make sure you've got like number side up and put them somewhere off to the side where you're not going to touch it or set your project in it, because chances are there's going to be ink around the edges of it. So then I'm going to take number 2 now. This dries pretty fast. I'm not putting a ton of ink on it. It does dry pretty fast, but just, yeah, make sure. And so then I'm going to put this one on again. And so now I've got the notch plus the corner to line up, and I'm going to take this one down, right? And then, oops. And then I'm going to do my brushing. Woo, do all my colors. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick it up with this. I'm going to take these 2 corners, and I'm going to move. And that's how I get through all 4 levels. So other than just being very careful that if you're putting, like this is light blue, right? And let's say you want to make these blue and you want to make these flowers yellow, that when you're brushing, you're not doing this because there's lots of little holes here. So you want to make sure you're brushing and you're just brushing the one you want, and go from different angles. If you just go from one side, you're not going to hit all the stuff because you don't want to go under the mask, but you want to go up against it. So you want to do little circles and you want to, keep it in the confines of the mask. If you want to use these, you can take these and you can put them on the inside of your card or you can put them on your envelope to do it as well. So I know in the PDF, I have a picture of it. I think it's on the little one pager. I took a picture. Yeah. So I was using it to do this, right? I just made this one stamped flower, which is this one, right? So I just turned the mask. Sorry, I can't pick it up with the thing in my hand. So I just turned the mask a little bit so I could make this flower on the inside and on the envelope. But what I did was I put this down. It would have been like this. I put this down. Let's make it so I can actually hold on to the darn thing. So I did it like this, right? So I put the flower, this, and I covered here to make sure, and I covered here to make sure, and I made sure all these little holes were covered so that when I was brushing like this, I wouldn't get in any of those holes I didn't need. But I totally forgot about the edge, and so I kept going off the edge and not realizing it. And so now I have this line. But honestly, I was like, yeah, it's going in that way. So just if you're doing that, just make sure you're like watching like your situational awareness so you don't go too much off. I enjoy the masking. It is so much fun. I bought the snowflake bundle that had the masks in it, and oh my goodness, I was like, what other combination can I make? What can I do next? And then, sorry, I'm holding on to these things. I could just put them back down. Like I said, I make, usually I'll make a bigger sheet, but in this case, this is what each layer looks like. And so these, I will keep these chunks in with my mask. Once they're clean and they're dried off, and put them back in the little case to keep them. I did think when I show you the next card, I did think you could do masking and then cut it apart, and it'll be like it would look like tile work, like the old hand painted tile work. I think it'd be pretty cool. The one other thing I was going to mention that I just remembered now is when you're putting this down, like I've only got just the tiniest bit of tape on there, especially if you're going to put it like really far in. Don't cover it and don't like grind it in like to do it. This is pretty sticky tape. And I could have taped this directly to my mat. I find that if I have to change anything or if it moves, I just kind of like that the whole thing will move as one. If I hit it on here and I move it, I'm gonna have to like start over. But however you do it, just don't push it so hard that you rip the corners of your paper when you're taking it off. And you should always peel your tape when you take it off. Whether this is the post-it note tape, whether you cut strips of our Stampin' Up! Masking paper, especially the Stampin' Up! Masking paper because it is stickier than most. But yeah, peel them back so that you're not ripping off your corners. Because once you get that done, you've got like your pretty mask and you can pop it on your card. The other thing that I put in your little kit for you is this little piece of gold. So I know in the stuff you got in the calendar, you got like 2 of these labels, but I think that maybe I only saw 1 gold, or maybe I just thought just in case. So if you want to make a label that, or you want to make a bunch of these, and you're going to eventually run out of the ones that came in the kit. But this was the other version I did. I just took this and I left it long because I don't know what sentiment you have. But just to give it, because it matches the little bling, right? So I just gave you an extra little strip so that if you wanted to put a sentiment just on a square, just on like a scrap, just cut it out, that you could have this and you could just set it up on it. And it would give you kind of the same impact of having a completely gold label without having as much gold paper involved. So that's how I did it. So yeah, I'd be curious to know which version do you like better, the full-size card or the square card? They're both kind of fun. And I realize now I did not make alternates of this, that particular one, other than the 2 versions that are right there. So, okay. So, I realized my video went so long the last time, so I'm really trying to be conscious of that and not make this video as long. It's more fun if you're stamping together and chatting and talking, but if you just simply have to listen to me, I'm thinking shorter is better. So, that's what we're doing. Okay, so this is where I have to remember, because some of the stuff I prepped, and like for my cards, and some of the stuff I give you, and I gotta just remember which is which. So I'm pretty sure I pre-cut a bunch of these squares for you guys though, and I did this because it's not hard to cut a 1x1 square out of cardstock, But I had the punch, so I was just rapid fire making you little 1-inch squares with the punch, so you didn't have to try to cut them. This is the card base that was in there, and this is the insert for the inside, right? Because this one is light enough you could write straight on it, but I like the look of it. I like to be able to stamp on it, so there's the insert for inside. And then I gave you one of these envelopes. So I got these envelopes at the dollar store. And I should have brought the box in. So you can get like the big office envelopes, right? Letter size envelopes. These are right in the same section. One is a box of 35 and one is a box of 70, I think. I just can't remember which one is which. And they're like $2 or $3. So for me, this is like a really good size slimline card. If it's 3 by 6. Oh, this is 3.5. I made it bigger. I think the one that Stampin' Up! Did was 3 by 6 because the one Stampin' Up! Did, they used the pink sheet of DSP and just folded it in half. But they have like oodles and oodles of this stuff, right? We only got 2 sheets of the DSP, so to use one entire sheet of DSP as a card base, I was like, no, I don't have enough of that. So their original card was 3 by 6. But this fits like this. The most I could fit in here was 3.5, and so I thought, well, let's just make it. It worked better with the math when I was putting the squares on. I like the spacing better, so that's what we went with. But yeah, these envelopes, dollar store. So if you want to make some of these like just a fun shaped card or a slimline card, just get the envelopes at the dollar store because you can. Just a minute, I forgot to grab my punch. So I said it before, and I'm not trying to like sell everybody on a punch set, but that little trio of punches, I think it's called the mini punch assortment, that has these in it. Super handy. I have used them more than I thought I would. So this little 1/8 inch one is what I punched. So I folded my card base in half. It's not really easy to see, is it? And all I did was took my little punch, and you could use it. You could use one of these ones as well, right? It's going to work. Oh, maybe not this one. This one's huge. But the other one that's smaller. And all I did was I went up against the side of the card. I have to go over here because there's stuff in the way on the other one. And I just split the thing so that it was half in, right? So, I don't know. This is kind of a small hole, but there we go. Right? So I just cut directly into the side of the card and punched half. Now, if you want to, you can open your card and you can go to the other side and you can do the same thing and just on the front though. I mean, I guess you could punch the back. It wouldn't hurt anything, but when you open it up, it would just look like there's a notch there. But you could do it on the other side too if you want. I found that once I put the thread in and I tied the bow, you don't even notice the notch so much. But it was just to give it, if you had a layer on the front, you could wrap this twine around it. Some people prefer to put a layer on if they're doing a full stamp of the thing, so you could always do that as well. But this worked out quite well for me. If you put a layer on, you need to be able to put it like flat down, or you won't be able to pop up the next layer that's on it. So I tried to manage how deep my cards are, because I would embellish this layer and embellish the top and I told you the embellishments are like the Frank's Red Hots, right? So yeah, I just made a hole and then I just wrapped the string around. This was also their design, so I looked at what it looked like they did, and that's how I came up with this. So we did this, and then I did with the 1-inch. This is one of those things. Some embellishments you get, you might not want to do this, like this particular method. And I realized, like I said, with Stampin' Up, they have limitless resources. So some of their cards, I could see they used a ton of stuff on them. But in this case, there's a lot. Like you get the 2 sheets of embellishments you get in here, you get a lot, and they're super adorable. And I just thought, for a little kid or something, look at how cute this card would be. So I decided to make it because I have no shortage of these little puffy stickers. So when I did the math for you. If you were doing this on your own, you need to just like cut a couple pieces of paper. Let's pretend like I didn't stamp that one yet. So you could have decided to go above, and I don't actually know if this will work. I never actually tried it. If you wanted to go above, you need to figure that out before you punch the hole. But you could decide, you know, is that going to work? Is that going to give me the spacing I want? What did I do? I did 3 and 2. See, I didn't do this well. If I had wanted to do that, I would have had to move the string up, right? And it would have worked. Either that or the string's going through the middle of them, but it's pretty close to working. But so figure this all out ahead of time, right? When I did it, I figured out the math, and I did it across first, right? And I knew it had to be like 1 inch or 1.25 inches because this was their card was 3, so when I made mine a little bigger. So then it worked out that if I did 3.5, then I would get like nice even spacing between the squares and around the edge of the card. So when you're going to do yours, just lay out your squares first just so you get the feel for where everything's going to go. But if you were designing a card from scratch, that's all you got to do. A little bit of trial and error and figure out the math. If you decide you want bigger squares and you can't make them fit, then I don't know, you probably could just center them and have it up the middle instead of doing it the other way. So kind of figure out how much card you're going to cover with, I could do it this way, right? If you want to use less of the little puffy things, you could do 8 instead of, is there 12? Yeah. Right, just cut out one row. So once you decide, okay, this is what I got it figured out. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. I realized that I actually stamped before I tied that string on. I was just so excited about how fun that string looks that I totally missed a step. But once you've like figured out your layout, you want to know where these squares are going. So you want to know how thick to stamp this. If your squares were going to completely cover your card except for the edge, then save yourself the time and just stamp around the edge. In this case, these little things peek out between the squares, so you want to get pretty much solid coverage. I personally find if you want to stamp random and you want it to look more even, on something where you're doing the whole thing, start in the middle. Start in the middle and work your way out on all the sides. I find if I start on one side, I end up, the spacing's wonky, or I end up clustering things. But if you start in the middle and you just kind of work out, and then you can kind of go around the edges and touch it up a bit if you need to. That's how I found worked way easier. So I put those on. I put my birthday wishes on dimensionals. Like I said, I like it. I like dimensionals. So I put my birthday wishes on dimensionals. I put all the little stickers on here. And I put the stickers on the squares. And then I laid them out. It's kind of funny. Because I don't know that the people who receive the cards look at it and put that much thought into, oh my goodness, look at the distribution of those and how the colors don't bunch. Isn't this like... But it doesn't stop me from doing it. So I put all my squares out with like puffy stickers stuck to them. And then I went, I got 2 pinks beside each other. And part of it was like some of them. So this like little secret C ribbon. There's a secret C stem. There's a secret C stem down here. So I made sure that I was like, okay, let's space out some of those little darker parts. Okay, this one is yellow. So a lot of the stickers are pink. So that was the harder part. So I was trying to like, oh, here's a bit of blue. Let's put some of the darker colors here. So I just moved them around a few times until I was happy. And then I stuck them down because I didn't want to stick them down and then realize that I had 2 of them together and try to pull them back up and rip my card. So I did all the whole, I'm moving it around beforehand. And then I just randomly chose, what have I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have this one, this one, this one, and this one. I popped up on dimensionals, plus this birthday wish. And I just thought it was fun. You could stick all of them straight down. I just kind of thought it was fun for some of them to be popped up. So I did. Laying them down, same thing. I always like rough it in to where I know I'm going. And then in this case, because these are underneath, there's less of them, I started in the top. And because once you roughly lay out your squares, there we go. Once you roughly lay them out, you can see that I have about 1/8 of an inch is the spacing that is between and around. So now that I know that, I will start in this corner, or well, one of the corners, and I'll do the top row, and then I will go down a side, so that as I add these other 4 on, I now have 2 points of reference to line them up. And then when it came to doing it down here, I put this down, I put this one down, same thing. I know that I got about 1/8 of an inch. This is the odd man out, so it can have different dimensions. But I know I needed about 1/8 of an inch on all of these sides. So I could do that and put them down. And then I could put that guy in last. Now you could probably pop a couple embellishments on like the odd one of these squares or something. But I don't know, it's pretty cute just the way it is. To stamp it up, it seemed, like their card, it seemed like this was a different color. I introduced this petal pink on this card just because it seemed like the one that matched the best. There is no other petal pink in any of the other stuff. I think you could have also made this in the flamingo and it would have worked. And then to show you the idea, I also did it with a white sentiment with the same kind of the same colors and a slightly different version. So I think even on the slimline card, I think you could have also just used a scrap of white to do it. So in the case of this one, I tried and tried and tried and tried, and the math just was not working out to my satisfaction. So I decided instead of having um, like the strip that went diagonally this way, I thought I want to put string on or twine, and I want to balance out my fact that I couldn't get my squares the way I wanted. So I used this strip, and I just popped it up on dimensionals, a bunch of them as you can see. And so I just wrapped, I background stamped that, like the same way I did the other one, I just randomly stamped on it, and tied the string around here so that I had somewhere to put it. I could have punched a hole in the top of my card, or if you make like the traditional fold, you could have just wrapped it around. But I like the idea of I had somewhere to put it. So I just tied my little thing on here. And then I put this piece of pink to finish it in because at first I just had the white and it was very white on white. So I just put a chunk of the pink DSP behind it. It could have also been a chunk of the pink of the Flirty Flamingo cardstock if you wanted to. And then these are, I'm pretty sure it's 1 1/4 inch. Just let me double check that. 1 1/4. 1 1/4 inch squares. Conveniently enough, one of the other square punches I have. And I did, this is those like little white embossed layers that came in it. I just took those and punched 6 of them out. And then these are the, forgot the word, these are the ephemera that came on one of the last days. I can't remember which one. And I just did the same thing. So this one I popped up on dimensionals the cherry, but the white square is adhered right to the card base. On this one, I popped up the square and just stuck the sticker straight to it. So I just had a little bit of a variety, and it just gives it a little dimension, a little character. So this one's only 6 squares because these are much bigger, and because that's how the math worked. So that was my alternate for this one. And because I was, at this point, was sticking to stuff in the kit, I thought that, yeah, there's a whole lot of pink in here. But you could have picked any one of these accent colors to put underneath it. I just wanted to be able to make something just on a simple white card base with the white squares. The other reason I put this pink here, like white on white is a lot sometimes. I also sometimes don't think that the white that comes in specialty paper is the same white as the cardstock. So I feel like it needs something between it so you don't compare them too closely. If I had picked a different color card base, you probably could have put the white squares right straight on top of it and you wouldn't need this other layer. But just a thought. But I quite like how this card turned out. Whee! So, so that's the cards. And that's the pointers that I have for you as we do it. I would love to see if anybody's making versions of these, what they look like. Just a minute, I lost my cards. So project number 6, I have such a stack of stuff now. I'm trying not to drop everything all over the desk. Oops. Project number 6. Curious which one you went for, full size or square on the project number 5. And then project number 4 and all its variations. I have all sorts of bits and pieces left now to make into other cards. There we go. Oops. So there's our versions for tonight. Let me know if you have any questions, or like I said, if you want a bigger discussion on the masking. I don't actually think the masking takes that long, but if you already know how to mask, I don't want to like make you have to sit there and watch while I do it before you can get to the next one. So we'll skip past that, but I can always go back and do it if anybody has questions, or you can always just call me and we'll quickly do a Zoom or a video call or whatever together and figure it out. So there's our excuse me, there's our projects for this week. I know some people can't make next Tuesday, but I'll and I figured out that my email on my phone, I have 3 Shaw accounts on my phone. The one is not sending. I found a whole bunch of things in the draft folder that I thought had sent. That's why the reminder didn't go out. If I send from my computer, it's fine, but from my phone, it's not. But the other 2 work. So I gotta wait till I have like 2 hours to sit on the phone with Shaw and see if they can tell me why all of a sudden, because it used to work. I don't know why all of a sudden it isn't. But I will try to remember to send the reminder from my computer so that it goes. for next Tuesday. And then, yeah, just let me know if you're going to be here or not. If not, I'll just do another video. That's fine. And yeah, well, next week we are doing 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 7 is a bit of a 3D treat project. It's a bit of an easy one, and I have a bonus project for that one. 8 is the magic gift card holder, and then 9 is a fairly simple card. I like the way it turned out, and it uses a bunch of the stuff that you got in your package. It's a really good way to use up the M&M cards and stuff. So I don't think there is a ton of prepping that needs to be done. I think for the most part, it is decide if you want cupcakes or flowers or butterflies or rainbows or whatever you want to use to decorate your cards, leaves, whatever, and maybe prep some of those. But the rest of it is we'll just do as we put the projects together. Alrighty? So happy crafting, everyone, and we'll see you next week.